I killed her family before I ever knew her name. Let me explain. My name is Daniel Garrett, and until 18 months ago, I was one of the wealthiest men in America. Fourth-generation CEO of Garrett Defense Systems, headquartered in the sprawling tech corridors of Northern Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C. We made weapons, artillery systems, guided missiles, the kind of technology that keeps senators smiling and shareholders richer. I grew up in a mansion in McLean with marble floors so polished you could see your reflection. My father used to walk those halls at night, drink in hand, telling me about legacy, about duty, about how the Garrett name meant something in this country. Protection, he called it. We protect American lives, Danny. Never forget that. I never did forget. I built my entire life around it. By 38, I'd expanded our contracts into 17 countries. Our revenue hit $12 billion annually. I had a penthouse in Arlington, a summer home in the Hamptons, and enough political connections to get the president's private number. I dated models and CEOs. I gave speeches at defense conferences. I was, by every measure society offers, successful. I was also completely hollow, but I didn't know that yet. Not until a fundraiser on a cold October evening changed everything. Hey, before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It helps this channel more than you know. Your support allows me to keep bringing you these deep, meaningful stories every week. Seriously, it makes all the difference. All right, let's get back to it. The event was held at the National Portrait Gallery in D.C., one of those charity galas where Washington's elite write checks to feel better about themselves. This one benefited refugee resettlement programs, which my PR team thought would be good optics. Humanitarian angle, they said, shows we care about more than just defense. I wore my Tom Ford tuxedo. I shook hands. I smiled for cameras. And then I saw her across the room. She was standing near a sculpture, holding a glass of champagne she wasn't drinking, looking completely out of place among the designer gowns and political power players. She wore a simple navy dress, her dark hair pulled back, and there was something about the way she held herself, alert, guarded, like someone who'd learned to read a room for danger, not opportunity. Our eyes met, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Curiosity. Real curiosity. I walked over. Up close, I could see she was probably early 30s, with deep brown eyes that seemed to look straight through the expensive veneer of everything around us. "These events are terrible, aren't they?" I said. She turned to me, and for a moment, I thought she might just walk away. Then the corner of her mouth lifted slightly. "I've survived worse." The way she said it, not joking, not bitter, just true. "Daniel Garrett," I extended my hand. "Layla Kassem." Her handshake was firm, brief. "I know who you are." Most people said that with awe or envy. She said it like she was identifying a species. Should I be flattered or worried? Neither. "I work with the resettlement program. Your company donated $100,000. My director insisted I attend to, what did she call it? Network with stakeholders." She said the last part with the faintest hint of mockery. "And you'd rather be anywhere else?" "Honestly? Yes." She took a sip of her champagne, winced slightly. "I'm not good at pretending." I laughed, a real laugh. "That's refreshing." We talked for 2 hours. She told me she'd come to the U.S. 6 years ago, that she worked as a caseworker helping newly arrived refugees navigate the impossible maze of American bureaucracy. She was smart, direct, funny in a dry way that caught me off guard. She asked about my work, and I gave her the sanitized version: innovation, technology, defense solutions. She nodded politely, but I could see she wasn't impressed. When the evening ended, I did something I never did. I asked for her number without any agenda, any angle. I just wanted to see her again. She hesitated, studying my face like she was trying to solve an equation. "All right," she said finally. "But I should warn you. I'm not whatever you think I am." "What do I think you are?" "Someone who fits into your world." She was right, of course, but I didn't care. We started seeing each other. Coffee at first, in a little Ethiopian place she loved in Columbia Heights. Then dinners, long walks along the Potomac. She introduced me to a DC I'd never known. Neighborhoods filled with immigrant families, hole-in-the-wall restaurants, community centers buzzing with languages I couldn't identify. Layla didn't ask about my money. She didn't want access to my world. If anything, she seemed actively disinterested in it. When I offered to take her to a Michelin star restaurant, she suggested a Syrian bakery in Falls Church instead. "This," she said, biting into a za'atar flatbread, "is better than anything you'll get for $200 a plate." She was right about that too. I started to crave our time together like oxygen. She was genuine in a way I'd forgotten people could be. She challenged me, questioned me, made me think about things I'd spent my whole life avoiding. One evening in December, walking through Georgetown after dinner, she stopped suddenly. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What do you actually make at your company?" I felt my chest tighten. "Defense systems, military technology." "Weapons?" "Yes." She was quiet for a long moment, her breath visible in the cold air. "Does that ever bother you?" Everyone had asked me this before. Journalists, protesters, even my own mother once, late at night after too much wine. I always had an answer ready. But with Layla standing there under the streetlights, I couldn't find it. "It's more complicated than—" "It's not." Her voice was soft, but firm. "I'm not trying to fight with you, Daniel. I'm just asking. Does it bother you?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "The truth. But I tell myself we're the good guys, that we're protecting people." She nodded slowly, and I couldn't read her expression. "Maybe you are." She didn't say anything else, and we kept walking, but something had shifted between us. A door had opened just slightly, and I could feel the cold air coming through. It was late January when Layla finally told me about her past. We were at my penthouse. She'd been reluctant to come, but it was snowing hard, and her apartment in Tacoma Park had lost heat. I made tea, the specific Syrian blend she'd taught me to prepare, and we sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows watching the city turn white. "I'm from a village called Khirbet al-Ward," she said quietly. "It means ruins of the roses. It's in northern Syria, near the Turkish border. Small, maybe 300 families. Everyone knew everyone. My father was a teacher. My mother made the best kibbeh in 3 provinces." She smiled at the memory, but her eyes were somewhere else. "We thought we'd be safe. We weren't near the major cities. We weren't strategic. We kept our heads down. But when you're sitting on earth that other people want—" She trailed off. "It doesn't matter how small you are." I wanted to reach for her hand, but something told me not to. Not yet. It was August, the middle of the night. I was 24, sleeping in my childhood bedroom. My father was shaking me awake, telling me to run. I could hear explosions, not far away, getting closer. Her voice stayed steady, but I could see her hands trembling around the teacup. We ran. My parents, my two younger brothers, me. We made it to the edge of the village. And then she closed her eyes. The whole world turned orange. The sound came after, like the sky was being torn apart. Layla. They hit the school first, then the market, then the residential blocks. Precision strikes, that's what the news called them later. Surgical. Clean. She looked at me then, and her eyes were dry but fierce. There's nothing clean about it, Daniel. Nothing surgical about pulling your little brother's body from rubble. My throat closed. My parents died in the first wave. My youngest brother, Rami, he was 12. I found him still holding his math textbook. My other brother, Fadi, he survived that night but died 2 days later from his injuries. We didn't have a hospital anymore. Didn't have doctors. Didn't have anything. Layla, I'm so sorry. I survived because I ran fast enough. Because I made choices no one should have to make. I left people behind. I walked for 3 days to the Turkish border. I spent 2 years in a refugee camp. And then, because I spoke English and had an uncle in Detroit who sponsored me, I got lucky. I got out. She set down her tea. So yes, I know what weapons do. I know exactly what they do. We sat in silence for a long time, the snow falling outside, the city far below wrapped in white. I wanted to tell her about safeguards, about rules of engagement, about international law, but every word felt like ash in my mouth. Thank you for telling me, I finally said. She nodded. I needed you to know. Before this, she gestured between us, goes any further. I needed you to know what I carry. I reached for her hand then, and she let me take it. I'm falling in love with you, I said. The first time I'd said those words, and meant them in maybe ever. I know, she whispered. Me too. That's what scares me. We moved forward, carefully, like two people walking on ice, testing each step. I started reevaluating everything. My work, my legacy. I began reading reports I'd always skipped. Casualty figures, civilian impact assessments. I started asking questions at board meetings that made my executives uncomfortable. Layla met my sister Kate, the only family I really talked to. They got along immediately, both of them sharp and unimpressed by bullshit. Kate pulled me aside afterward. She's real, Danny. Don't screw this up. I'm trying not to. Try harder. By March, Layla had essentially moved into my penthouse. Her clothes in my closet, her books on my shelves, her presence making the sterile space finally feel like home. One Saturday morning, I was in my study reviewing contracts when Layla came in with her laptop. Can I use your printer? Mine's out of ink. Of course. She sent the document to print, and I went back to my work. But when she went to grab the pages, she froze. Daniel. Something in her voice made me look up. She was holding 2 sheets of paper, her printed document, and something else. Something that must have been stuck in the printer queue from my last session. An export authorization form for a shipment of guided missile systems to Syria. What is this? Her voice was barely above a whisper. My stomach dropped. Layla, that's classified. What is this? Not a question anymore. I stood up, moved toward her. She stepped back. It's a shipment authorization from 3 years ago. For Allied forces, 3 years ago. She was reading the document, her hands shaking now. August 2022, destination, Turkish-Syrian border coalition operations. She looked up at me, and the expression on her face made my blood run cold. August 2022, that's when my village was destroyed. That doesn't mean Model GX 440 Precision Strike System. She was reading aloud now, her voice getting higher. That's what they said it was. After, when journalists investigated, they found fragments. GX 440, American-made. She held up the paper, and I could see the Garrett Defense Systems logo at the top. Tell me it's not true. Tell me your weapons didn't... I couldn't speak. The room was spinning. Daniel! She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. Tell me. I don't know, I managed. I don't know what was used where. I sign off on hundreds of authorizations. I don't track every single what? Every single village? Every single family? She threw the papers at me. I told you what happened to me. I told you about Rami, about my parents, and the whole time. I didn't know. Layla, I swear to God, I didn't know. But you didn't care to know, did you? Her voice broke. It was just business, just contracts and revenue and... She couldn't finish. I reached for her. She jerked away like I'd burned her. Don't touch me, don't. She was backing toward the door. I can't be here. Layla, please. The weapons that killed my family have your name on them, Daniel. She was sobbing now. Your name. Do you understand? When I close my eyes and see Rami's body, when I hear my mother screaming, when I smell the smoke, that's you. That's what you built. That's not fair. Fair! She screamed it. You want to talk about fair? My 12-year-old brother didn't get fair. My parents didn't get fair. The 300 people who died that night didn't get fair. I stood there frozen as she grabbed her coat. I need to go. I can't look at you right now. Where will you go? Anywhere but here. The door slammed behind her, and I was alone in the massive penthouse, surrounded by everything my family's weapons had bought. I spent the next 3 days trying to call her. Every call went to voicemail. I sent texts that went unread. I showed up at her apartment, but she wouldn't answer the door. Her coworker finally told me she'd taken emergency leave. I was losing my mind. But more than that, I needed to know. I needed to know the truth. I went into the office at 3 a.m. when no one else was there. I pulled every file I could find on the Syrian authorization, export licenses, shipping manifests, after-action reports. The picture that emerged made me sick. Yes, we'd authorized the shipment. Yes, it had gone to coalition forces operating in northern Syria. And yes, according to an incident report buried in the files, there had been unintended civilian casualties during an operation in the Khirbet al-Ward region. 347 dead. 78 children, unintended. That's the word we used. Like it mattered. Like we didn't mean to brings anyone back. There was a legal review attached. Our lawyers had concluded we bore no liability. The weapons were sold legally to authorized forces. What happened after delivery wasn't our responsibility. We'd followed all regulations. We'd done nothing wrong. Except we'd killed 347 people. I sat in my office as dawn broke over Virginia, and I finally understood what Layla had been trying to tell me all along. It didn't matter that I hadn't pulled the trigger. It didn't matter that I'd followed the law. It didn't matter that I'd told myself stories about protection and security and the greater good. I'd built the machine that murdered her family, and I'd gotten rich doing it. I called an emergency board meeting. My father, semi-retired but still chairman, flew in from Florida. My executives looked worried. I'd been acting erratic, they said, taking too much time off, asking uncomfortable questions. They weren't wrong. I want to halt all export authorizations pending a comprehensive civilian impact review, I announced. The room erupted. That's not feasible. We'll lose billions in contracts. Our competitors will. I held up a hand. I don't care. We need to know where our weapons end up. We need accountability. My father leaned forward. Daniel, son, what's this really about? It's about doing the right thing. The right thing. He said it like the words were foreign. We've been doing the right thing for 4 generations. We protect American interests. We keep our soldiers safe. We've been over this. No, Dad. We've been over the justifications. We've never actually questioned whether they're true. Is this about that woman you've been seeing? The refugee? My father said it with barely concealed disdain. Several board members exchanged glances. They'd been talking about me, about Layla. Her name is Layla Kassem, I said coldly. And yes, this is about her. It's about the fact that our weapons destroyed her village, killed her family, massacred 347 civilians, including 78 children. Silence. That's tragic, one of the executives said carefully. But it's not our responsibility. We supplied legitimate forces. What happened? Stop. I stood up. Just stop. I've heard every rationalization. I've made every excuse. And they're all bullshit. Daniel, we make weapons specifically designed to kill people efficiently, and then we pretend to be surprised when people die. We talk about precision and surgical strikes and minimizing collateral damage. But at the end of the day, we're in the business of helping people destroy each other. And I'm done lying about it. My father's face had gone red. You're emotional. You're not thinking clearly. We'll table this discussion. I'm thinking clearly for the first time in my life. I looked around the table. I'm proposing we fundamentally restructure this company, transition away from offensive weapon systems, focus on defensive technology, cybersecurity, things that actually protect people without killing others. That's not realistic. Then I'll do it alone. I'll vote my shares, and You'll what? My father stood now too. Destroy everything I built? Everything your grandfather built? Because some woman made you feel guilty? Because it's the right thing to do. The right thing, my father said slowly, is to honor your legacy, your responsibility, your family. I looked at him, this man I'd spent my whole life trying to impress, and I realized I didn't care anymore. I'm stepping down as CEO, I said, effective immediately. The room exploded into chaos. The news hit the defense industry like a bomb. CEO of major defense contractor quits over moral crisis. The stock plummeted. Investors panicked. My phone rang constantly, with board members begging me to reconsider, with lawyers discussing my contractual obligations, with PR people trying to spin the disaster. I ignored all of them. I spent my days trying to find Layla. I finally tracked her down through Kate, who'd stayed in touch with her. She was staying with her uncle's family in Dearborn, Michigan. I drove there, 10 hours straight through the night. Her uncle answered the door, a broad man in his 60s with wary eyes. I know who you are, he said. I need to talk to Layla, please. She doesn't want to see you. I know, but I'm begging you, 5 minutes. He studied me for a long moment, then stepped aside. Layla was in the living room, looking thinner, exhausted. When she saw me, something flickered across her face. Pain, anger, something else I couldn't name. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. I know, but I needed to tell you. I sat down across from her, keeping distance between us. You were right. About everything. I went through the files. Our weapons did destroy your village, and we knew. Maybe not the specific target, but we knew there were civilians. We always know. And we do it anyway because the money's too good, because the contracts are too important, because we've convinced ourselves it's someone else's responsibility. Tears were streaming down my face now. I'm so sorry, Layla. I'm so fucking sorry. I can't change what happened. I can't bring back your family. But I quit. I'm walking away from the company. I'm selling my shares. And I'm setting up a foundation, every penny I have, to help rebuild communities destroyed by weapons, starting with Kerbet Al-Ward. She was crying too now, silently. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I continued. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking you to take me back. I just needed you to know that you changed me. You made me see the truth, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make amends for what I've done. She didn't speak for a long time. The only sound was the clock ticking on the wall. It won't bring them back, she finally whispered. I know. It won't fix what was broken. I know. And I don't know if I can ever look at you without seeing that night, without hearing the explosions, without wondering if things would have been different if you'd cared sooner, if any of you had cared. I understand. But, she wiped her eyes, I also know that what you're doing takes courage, that most people in your position would have made excuses, would have hidden behind lawyers and regulations and corporate structures, and you didn't. Because of you. No. She shook her head. Because somewhere inside you, there was still a conscience. I just helped you find it. We sat there in her uncle's living room, two people whose lives had collided in the cruelest possible way, and for the first time since the document fell out of my printer, I felt like I could breathe. I still love you, I said. I know I have no right to, but I do. I know, she whispered. That's what makes this so hard. I moved to Dearborn, not to pressure Layla, but because I couldn't stay in Virginia anymore. Every street corner reminded me of who I'd been, what I'd built. I needed to start over. I sold everything. The penthouse, the Hampton house, my shares in Garrett Defense Systems. My father bought me out at a fraction of their value, which felt appropriate somehow. I established the Kassem Foundation, named after Layla's family, dedicated to rebuilding communities destroyed by warfare. The first project was Kerbet Al-Ward. I flew to Syria with a team of engineers and architects. The village was still in ruins, mostly abandoned. Some families had returned, but were living in partially collapsed buildings, without electricity or clean water. I met a woman there named Fatima who'd been Layla's neighbor. She was living in what used to be a school, with 7 grandchildren. You're the American, she said when I introduced myself. Not hostile, just stating fact. Yes. Why are you here? I told her the truth, all of it, about my company, about Layla, about what I'd done and what I was trying to do now. She listened, her weathered face unreadable. You think money fixes this? She finally asked. No, but it's all I have to offer. She nodded slowly. Then we will use it. Because those children, she pointed to her grandkids playing in the rubble, they deserve better than ruins. We spent 8 months rebuilding. A new school, a medical clinic, housing, solar power, water systems. I worked alongside the crews, hauling stones, mixing cement. My hands blistered and bled. My back screamed. I'd never felt better. People in the village knew who I was. Some refused to speak to me. Others were cautiously accepting. A few became friends. I deserved none of their grace, but they gave it anyway. I sent Layla updates, photos of the progress. She never responded, but she never asked me to stop either. By the time winter came, Garrett had its first functioning school in 3 years. At the opening ceremony, Fatima handed me a worn notebook. This was your friend's brother, the young one. Rami. I found it in the rubble years ago. Kept it. Maybe you should give it to her. I opened it carefully. Math homework, drawings of rockets and stars, a kid's dream of becoming an engineer. I broke down right there in front of everyone. I flew back to Michigan in December, a year since everything fell apart. I knocked on Layla's apartment door. She'd moved back from her uncle's place a few months earlier. She opened the door, and for a long moment, we just looked at each other. "Hi," I said. "Hi. I brought you something." I held out Rami's notebook. "Fatima found it. She thought you should have it." Layla took it with trembling hands, opened it, and I watched her face crumble and heal simultaneously. "You were there," she whispered. "You went to Garrett. It's not finished. It'll never really be finished. But there's a school now, with Rami's name on it, and a clinic, and people are coming back. Slowly. Daniel." She looked up at me with those deep brown eyes I'd fallen in love with. "Why?" "Because it was the only way I could live with myself. Because I owe it to them, to you, to everyone who's been destroyed by people like me who never bothered to care about the consequences. You could have just sent money. I needed to see it, to understand what was lost, to try to help build something better." She studied my face. "You look different." "I am different. You were right about everything, Layla. I was hollow. I was hiding behind legacy and money and justifications. And you showed me the truth. It hurt like hell. It still hurts. But at least it's real." "Come in," she said. We sat on her small couch, such a contrast to my old penthouse, and talked for hours about the village, about her family, about guilt and redemption, and whether someone like me could ever truly make amends. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she said finally. "Not completely. Maybe not ever. I know. But I can see that you're trying, that you're not hiding anymore. And maybe," she hesitated, "maybe that's enough to start from." "Start what?" "I don't know yet. Maybe just being honest with each other about who we are and what we carry." I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. "I'm going back to Syria next month," I told her. "There are 3 more villages that need help. The foundation's expanding. It's going to be my life's work. Trying to undo even a fraction of the damage I caused. That's going to take a long time. I know. But I have the rest of my life." She was quiet for a moment, then, I might want to help. With the foundation. I know those communities. I know what they need." "Are you sure?" "Working with me." "I'm not sure about anything," she interrupted, "except that sitting here hating you doesn't help anyone. And maybe we can do more good together than apart. Even if it's complicated. Even if it hurts." "Even if it hurts," I echoed. We sat there as snow began to fall outside. 2 broken people trying to build something better from the ruins. 3 years later, the Kassem Foundation had rebuilt 17 communities across Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Layla ran operations. I did fundraising and coordination. We weren't together, not romantically. That bridge had burned too completely, but we were partners, friends, two people bound by tragedy and trying to create hope. I'll never stop carrying the weight of what I did. Late at night, I still see Rami's math notebook. I still imagine 347 lives extinguished in fire and steel that bore my family name. The guilt doesn't fade. It shouldn't. But I also see the children attending the new schools, the families returning to rebuilt homes, the communities healing slowly, one day at a time. Redemption isn't a destination. It's not something you achieve and then get to stop working at. It's a daily choice to face what you've done, to not look away, and to spend whatever time you have left trying to leave the world better than you found it. My father died without speaking to me again. The Garrett name still appears on weapons used around the world. I can't stop that. I can only control what I do with my own hands, my own resources, my own remaining years. Layla was right that night in my penthouse. The weapons that destroyed her village had my name on them. That truth almost destroyed me. But it also saved me. Because sometimes you need to be broken completely before you can build yourself into something worth being. I killed her family before I ever knew her name. And then she showed me how to live with that truth. Not by forgetting, not by excusing, but by facing it every single day and choosing to do better. It's not redemption, not really. But it's something. It's enough to keep going. And right now, that's all any of us can do. Keep going. Keep building. Keep trying to turn the weight of our mistakes into something that might, someday, look like hope. Before you go, can I ask you for a quick favor? If you enjoyed this story, please hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. It might seem like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference for this channel. Subscriptions help YouTube show these stories to more people who need to hear them, and notifications make sure you never miss the next chapter. Your support is what keeps this channel alive. It's what allows me to spend hours crafting these stories, making sure every word hits the way it should. And honestly, knowing you're out there listening makes every late night worth it. So subscribe, hit that bell, and let's keep this community growing. More stories are coming, and I can't wait to share them with you.